Hey everybody, this is going to be a bit of an odd video because we're going to get the interior put back together on this truck. And there's going to be a lot of major upgrades done to the interior of this truck. So stay tuned for that. So the way I see it, the sheet metal and rust repair is done with the truck. And just because the interior is taking up a lot of room, a lot of stuff has happened with the interior, I would feel a lot better with the interior finally being back in this truck. So at least the cab feels completed. Don't talk about paint, we're like nowhere near that point yet, and you'll see why. But I say, let's get this interior back together. So it is a nice, pretty cool evening outside, which I'm happy about. It is also 9:30 at night. I just got done putting the first layer of primer on the floor, and I just got done seam sealing. So right along the factory seam points and also where I repaired floors, that's where I applied seam sealer. Even though I got all the welding done, it looks pretty nice. I didn't see any type of pinholes. There could just be a real teeny tiny one that I cannot see whatsoever, so this is just reassurance. Passenger side is all done as well. Everything got sealed up. I'm still going to make a body plug for that hole right there. I'm just going to use a piece of steel, paint it, and then seal it with some seam sealer. Everything I use is going to be right here. Delco brand seam sealer, which is like 21 bucks a tube. I got Rust-Oleum self-etch primer, which seems to be pretty decent. And just because I have an overabundance of this stuff for this truck, I'm just going to use this to do one simple coat to cover it so it doesn't look too terrible and it seals everything up. So I got to wait about 45 more minutes for this stuff to dry up and then put a coat of primer on and then hopefully put a coat of paint on. We should be getting everything for the floor wrapped back up. So that is the insulation, carpet, the floor vents, and that wiring harness, which needs cleaned up some. So after this is all dry, we're going to start tackling that. So after the wiring harness, insulation, and floor vents are installed, the carpet can finally be laid out in the vehicle. I was able to send the carpet out to actually get cleaned up, and it does look better, but it's not really in the best shape. That's the only bad spot back there, a bleach stain, but it's clean enough, like it's tolerable. And honestly, I never knew about the bleach stain. I guess it was that dirty, I never knew. So remember that old crappy headliner that was in this truck? This is it. I got, I think this was charcoal gray headliner material. And it actually matches really well with the factory GM interior color. And I also got charcoal dye to change this from beige to gray, and it blends in really well. And honestly, this color, I got the material on Amazon. This was the closest color I could find, and it also is just like the factory material. Has the foam inlay with this cloth on it. It was like 62 bucks for a 3-yard roll. I have a lot left over, and I am actually really impressed for how well this turned out. All right, keep on rolling. I'm gonna get the whole rear half of this truck put back together. We had the B-pillar trims, the seat belts, a piece of trim that goes across, child seat anchors, and then the rear bench. Let's just get that taken care of right now. I actually broke this piece taking off the truck. And when I went to the junkyard, I was too lazy to get a new one. So it's going back in. But later. You can call it being lazy, but it's also saving money. Be really gentle with this piece. There we go. Your belt lays nice and flat. One will go here. Still can't get the lighting right, but there's a left and right hand side cap for up here. Here we go. So the rear trim piece and the seat anchors are in. I remember I actually broke this piece clean off taking, I think, one of these panels off. So hopefully the rear seat covers that, because I don't want to get another one just yet. I also got the seatbelt buckles put in too. Good thing to remember when you go to put these back together, when you sit in them, the button's supposed to face away from you, and the buckle's supposed to go right here. Just keep that in mind when you're putting seatbelts in. And just for an added factor that they don't really want seatbelts to come loose, they are a lock nut, and they got sent home. I think the final thing back here should be the rear seat, and that should be everything for the rear done. A little side note, there is a bracket that does go here. It is for the spare tire jack and accessories, I believe. I forgot to clean and paint the bracket, so it's easy enough to get to with the seat on, so I'm just going to deal with that later. Oh gosh dang, it's got a rear back seat, and it actually looks really good back here. It looks really nice back here. Then you get up here. Yeah, we gotta do something about this. So the most nicest upgrade I'm adding to this truck is the center console. The first truck I actually looked at in the junkyard had this, and I said, I'm bringing this home. And because of the center console and that radio, it opened up one gigantic loophole. So I'm either really smart or really dumb on doing this conversion. As far as I know, I am the only one that has done this. Nobody has documented anything on doing a Bose audio swap in any of these vehicles. So I'm going to try explaining it to you as best I can, because it is actually really confusing, and it was really confusing for me to try to figure all this out to actually make it work with no issues. So back in March, when I found the head unit for this truck, I made sure it worked. And it did work, but the audio was very, very quiet. That's when I soon found out I had a Bose audio radio. And since I already had the center console, I had two key components to make it work: the subwoofer and the amplifier. I just needed the rest of the stuff. So I went back to the junkyard and I found the exact same truck. I ripped these front doors and center console and other stuff out of it. I ripped the entire dash out of the truck. What my goal was to just switch dashboards between vehicle to vehicle. The junkyard truck was two-wheel drive, and Phantasm is the automatic four-wheel drive version. So the wiring harnesses are different entirely. Set up the same, but they added wiring in for the four-wheel drive. So once I figured out that wouldn't work, I ended up stripping the whole harness out of the donor dash and stripping that harness down to find the audio wiring. So if your truck is a non-center console truck like this once was, there's a 4-pin connector with 2 orange wires and 2 black wires. That will go to the 12-volt outlets on the non-center console truck, that lower dash bezel. On a center console truck, that plug is actually used to power the sub harness for the Bose audio. You do have another connection point under the relay block on the passenger compartment right by the brake pedal. It's a black plug, plugs right into that relay block. That's your main 2 connector points. The other connection points are actually for the speakers themselves. So you have in total, you have 2 wires per speaker, 4 doors. You have 8 wires to transplant. You have a tan and gray wire for the driver front, a light and dark green for the passenger, a light and dark blue for the rear passenger, and brown and yellow for the left rear. It's actually really easy to figure out where they go. You go along your plugs for your doors for each side off the A-pillars. Just switch the wires out and put them in. It's really not that hard to do. On the floor harness side of it, because the harness goes out of the dash, runs along the floor, goes along the back of the cab and splits off to the doors, you have to go on that connector, going up to the dash, take out the 4 wires and add in those 4 other wires for the Bose audio. The radio plug is also different too, in color. A basic audio system has a gray plug A Bose audio plug is like, I believe, teal, if that makes sense. So I essentially took the wiring out of the one dash and made it basically a separate harness from the other one, and added it in to my truck. But wait, there's more to this story. So not only do you have to transplant all the speaker wires, you have to transplant your power and ground wires too. That is somewhat simple because the power wires are orange on a GM, which are hot at all times, and your black is ground. Either be a straight black wire or black with a white tracer, excuse me. I had to look at so many pinouts and wiring diagrams to figure out what I needed to transplant over. That part, once I figured out, was real simple. You take the hot and ground wires out of the connectors for the old radio setup, and you just plug in the Bose audio setup. Another side note too, you have to watch to see if your truck was wired for a subwoofer, and an amplifier, I should say. The amplifier is actually real easy to identify. You're looking at the fuse block on the under hood. You look at the bottom right corner, you'll see a 30 amp fuse. That 30 amp fuse is for the amplifier. My truck actually had one, and it was pre-wired to have an amplifier. This thing was also pre-wired to have OnStar, but OnStar isn't happening, I'll tell you that much. So after all that was transplanted over, it worked. But I forgot one thing that was crucial. In the interior harness wiring, there is a small junction block coming off the main harness. I think going into that junction block is a pink wire, and going out is a small orange wire. That small orange wire is your class 2 serial data for the radio. So if you have steering wheel buttons that control the volume and all that stuff, you need that to tell the radio when to turn the volume up or down, to find a different radio station, so on and so forth. So now, after all that was transplanted over, and I got it wired in the truck, it worked with no issue. The audio system fired up and worked. It was really loud, and even louder than the older system. And since I like to add my own personal touch, and since I also do like to play around too, you also have tweeters to watch out for. So for a basic sound system, you have tweeters in the doors, the front doors I should say, and for Bose audio you have tweeters in the A-pillars. Now since Bose audio setup, I have the A-pillar tweeters, but I also kept the original sound system's tweeters in the doors. All I had to do there was switch harnesses between door to door. Because these doors came off of the truck with Bose audio, it was wired for the Bose audio. Since my truck was wired for the basic sound system, it had the tweeter in the door. So switched out harnesses, I kept that tweeter in the door, I had the Bose audio sub in the doors. It all worked. And it works great. I really hope I explained that well, because this took me about 8 or 9 tries to try to explain what I did, and this is the best I could do. Like I said, it was very confusing and very time consuming, but once I figured out where the wires needed to go, what needed power, what didn't, what needed to go, what needed to stay, figure out where to pin everything, wire it up, it works. And trust me, it works. So yeah, is your head throbbing? Because mine sure is. So let's get back to the shenanigans of the interior install. Sound good? Good, because I'm taking a break. Oh, whoa, before I go, I have to say there's one more thing. Just one more thing. Because I like stuff to work how it's supposed to, And this center console has the rear vents in the back. I also took the air box out of the truck and put in this. Yeah, you could tell I went a little crazy on making everything work. And it works. Go figure. Okay, now I'm done. I promise you, I'm not explaining things. I had enough. It was confusing. So yeah, it's because of that radio and this center console, I now have Bose audio. Okay, so let's work on something at least mildly easy. Getting the glove box back in. The dash pad. We're gonna make it work. I don't know what that problem was. So here is my creative mind at work. I'm trying to figure out why the glove box door is sitting crooked. When in editing, I noticed I tucked the old airbag key switch behind a dash brace, which is pushing on the glove box. This is one of my finest moments, and this is pure comedic gold to me. I love being a mechanic. There are two hidden 10mm bolts inside the center console. If you do the full center console swap, you're going to have the bracket that's behind the center console brace. That's where they go. And then we can get the sill plate in. I like these a lot. Definitely a nice upgrade. Alright, so knee bolster is in. Clips it at the top, two 7mm screws at the bottom. Now it's time to put the dash bezel back on. I decided to actually use the truck's original dash bezel. So that means the truck's name is Barb B. So Barbie. It's definitely gonna feel like Barbie after I'm done with it. It should just slide down in like that. It should clip back in. Wow. That's a whole different dash now. Yeah, that dash looks really good. I'm actually amazed. And the center Right. Leather wrapped front seats and a cloth rear seat. So this is an upgrade. It's going to be an ongoing upgrade. I'm switching from cloth to leather seats. This is the original driver's seat. That's the original passenger seat. I got a new driver's seat bottom and seat skins off eBay. They fit okay. The seat skins were $100 and the seat bottom was $30. I can't really complain. I gotta find the corresponding headrests because there's still the cloth headrests, and of course the corresponding back seats. But this is coming together real nice. One of the last few things I needed installed were the door panels. All 4 door panels are on in its entirety. I also took and painted the speaker grills black because I thought it'd be a nice touch. I also did install door seal plates. And you can see there's my black speaker grill. And the very last few things that the interior needed, one of the door pockets for both front doors. There was something in them that was so nasty. I'm still trying to clean them out, so I'll get to them later. Still need the airbag and the steering column cover because I bought this cheap, really cheap shifter and it's missing the tow haul function. It kept falling out, so I'm gonna get another one of those and put it in and put the column cover on. Airbag will be one of the last things to go in because I don't want this thing going off. The driver airbag is always armed, the passenger side airbag is not. And the last final touch to this equation, the overhead console and sun visors. Now all these trim pieces, these little latch covers, the dome light bezel, overhead console just got dyed. They were dyed charcoal gray and they're pretty close to the factory color. I think they're a touch lighter, but they'll work. These sun visors, again, they were a total add-on. The truck had them, but they didn't look too good. Plus, these came out of an SUV, so I actually made them fit for an SUV application. There is a little clip that is inside, I guess, the windshield brace, and there's two rectangular holes. The inward one is for the truck, the outward one's for the station wagon body. I just moved it over and used a piece of wire coming off of the clip coming out of the overhead console opening and line it up to where the hole was. Open the hole up in the headliner for this little clip, and that's how I got them to work. And since this truck never had vanity mirrors, I also wired them in. They work. And the dim option works. So we're inside the truck, everything's powered up. Since this is a different radio, I pulled this out of another Suburban. It is theft locked, thinking it is stolen, so as of right now, it technically does and does not work for all the troubleshooting. If you disconnect the battery and put the key in accessory, the radio will work just fine, but as soon as you turn the key on, it'll lock itself out and it'll stay locked to disconnect power. There are ways to bypass that, but I'd rather fix it right, not to worry about it. The addition to the steering wheel buttons. The bottom half works. I can go into my settings, anything I want to check. It was this one. Truck was hitting almost 14 mpg before it got torn apart. I reset the oil life because when the engine goes back in, it's going to have fresh oil. But yeah, steering wheel buttons on this half work. This top half, the BCM will need programmed for all these to work. I can send these or push these buttons and it sends a signal. BCM doesn't know what to do until it gets programmed. Blower motor does work up until speed 4. As soon as you have 5 shuts off, I still have to figure that out. But the air blows real nice and strong out of the front and now rear vents. So yeah, I think this is a successful test run. So I think before we see what's behind door number 1, let's see what this looked like before. Because it looked like an ultimate dumpster fire happened inside this truck. I'll tell you what, a couple months have passed since I have put this interior together. I actually found the right headrest I wanted, and even still, it feels really nice to sit in this truck. And it is definitely a lot better to look at, a lot better to sit in, and it smells a whole lot better because this truck smelled like BO really bad, and it drove me nuts. Right, so what can I say? The interior is back together. It looks so much better. It is a lot cleaner, and it doesn't smell anymore. The smell coming out of this truck was just unbearable to me. So from reupholstering the headliner to adding in Bose audio, this truck is definitely way better than it was from the factory. And the best part is it was all using factory parts. Straight down the wiring harnesses, speakers, everything for the Bose audio. Even with the SUV sun visors that light up now, they fit in perfectly. I can't complain. The interior is definitely way better than it was, and I'm happy with it. So with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to leave it a like. If you have any questions about what I did to this interior, because even I still kind of don't know, ask down below. And if you like what you see and you want to show your support, you might as well subscribe. Now let's see if we can make the outside of the truck look as good as the inside. Wow.